because
No, we're good. We're good.
we're good. We're live. Well, I guess what? We are live right now, and we've got a coast-to-coast connection going on. And we got a great star. She'll be back here in a minute. Deb. And
we're
hi,
excited to have Jessie Lynn Madera with us tonight.
Madera. You got to say it with that Madera. But yeah, she's a future star, and she'll be back on here in a moment or two. She, I think her phone fell.
Oh, that's right.
Logging back in now. So
here she comes.
There she comes. There she is. She's coming. And here we go. Everybody, because this is like a live podcast thing, right?
Yeah.
I just got to move some people around.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Oh, that's right. There he goes.
Turn it up a little bit.
We've seen.
This is how it works behind the scenes, but it's like,
yes.
Oh, see, now we got everybody back in.
Now we're on.
And as you can see tonight, we are joined by Jessie Lynn Madera, and this is a name you're going to want to remember. She is in LA, and we are in New York, so it's like coast to coast tonight. Jessie Lynn, a very Americana sounding, but also a lot of soul, a lot of jazz, a lot of blues. She's got all that and everything that she does, and she's going to be a star. There's no doubt. And Jessie, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
Oh,
Hey guys.
We're so excited to learn all about you and introduce you
to our viewers. Talking to y'all.
Yep, exactly. Can you hear Deb okay?
No.
Uh-oh.
I lost you.
All right, but you can hear me okay.
I can hear you okay.
Well, you guys keep talking. I'm going to pop out and pop back in again.
Deb, go away.
Don't go away.
I got to fix my hair. I'll be back.
No, but I can ask her. I've got a couple questions. You go do what you got to do and then pop back in here. And yeah, this is a little crazy right now, but I think it's because of the coast to coast connection. But hey, so describe your surroundings right now, Jessie.
Well, like my physical surroundings at this moment, I'm in Los Angeles, and this house was built in 1926.
Oh my Lord.
When we first moved in here, the fireplace was not even up to code for 1929.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah. There were like live wires touching the house, and it was crazy. It was wild.
Yeah.
But we really pretty much moved our home base to Nashville. So we're just we're here really visiting.
But you're in LA right now with everything that's going on. Is that a little bit scary?
It's not for us because we're not going anywhere.
Okay.
We're just like we just moved our quarantine operation, and we moved via RV. My dad was joking; it was like covered wagons. Like it took us a week to get here, Covered wagons with a working toilet in them.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Yeah.
We've
and
come a long way.
Maybe rotate the driving a little bit, and you can probably drive almost all the way through, right?
Well, my husband Hemke, he's like making sure that my phone doesn't crash again. He drove most of the way, or the whole way. He's making a face like most of the way.
Thank you, Hemke. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Well, I kept saying, do you want me to drive? Pull over. He's like, no, later. It's okay. And then he just latered the whole way.
And how long did it take you to go from Nashville to LA?
It took about a week, but we went really slow.
Yeah, you took your time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd probably do it in 3 days if you probably just drove all night and all day.
If it would have been just the two grown-ups, we would have. But
Yeah.
we had our two boys and 2 dogs, and so we just we would drive for maybe 4 or 6 hours tops and then stop.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm surprised you made it in just a week with having all that with you, with the family.
Well, it makes it pretty easy. I'd never driven in an RV before, but if we need coffee or somebody needs to go to the bathroom, I mean, you just pull over into a parking lot and you're home. You're always home.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
So actually, with an RV, just curious, do they seatbelt you in, or are you allowed to just kind of sit wherever you want as long as the driver's doing their thing?
We were talking about that back in the day. I think in maybe when I was a kid, I don't think my parents would have had me buckled in. But now yeah, you have to. And it makes sense, you know.
Yes, it does.
I may have missed, how old are your children?
Oh, 9 and 3.
Oh my
Oh, they're busy.
They're busy. Yeah.
Yes.
The 9-year-old is like, obviously, he has a lot more patience than the 3-year-old. I think just as a personality.
Of course.
You know. It's more than just the age, I promise.
Not only that they're busy, but Hemke and Jesse are busy because 9-year-old and 3-year-old, it keeps them going, I'm sure. And Jesse's working on her music. And as she mentioned, she's made her home base in Nashville, Tennessee, which is another hot spot right now. So I guess as long as you stay and stay safe, I guess you'll be okay. But tell us a little bit about your music, Jesse.
Well, I started playing. My grandma played. She played by ear, and she always had a piano. And I really started learning, just kind of messing around on her old piano that we had. And I think the reason that there's this fusion of all these different genres is because of probably like maybe it's like a mix of the old standards that she used to play, and then I was really heavily influenced by the singer-songwriters like the 70s.
Yeah, I love the 70s.
It's a golden age. I've got a Townes Van Zant's shirt on right now.
I love it.
But I grew up listening to like Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson, and my dad we'd hear a great line, they'd sing a great line, and my dad would stop the tape and he'd rewind the tape and he'd go, "Do you hear that? You hear that?" And he'd make me listen to the lyric over again, and we would talk about what it meant and why it was such a great lyric.
Oh.
So the focus on words, that's probably where that comes from. But we moved around a lot when I was growing up. So I was born in West Virginia, and then we moved all the way to California, and then Michigan, and then Texas.
Oh my Lord.
And then I stopped in North Carolina for a bit. I lived in New York for a while. So it all sort of, I think it's just, I don't think about the music in terms of genre, you know. It's almost like I just have had a lot of things coming into my ears, and
oh my goodness. You know. We certainly get a world of knowledge and a world of education, and you're exposed to all the different elements that are in those different areas. So that's what helps bring your unique sound to you.
Yeah, music and food.
Oh,
you know, I think I store both of those things in my heart.
I'm right up there with you, let me tell you.
Especially during this quarantine.
Oh, it's dangerous, isn't it?
It is dangerous. I got into the bread baking early on, and
oh my,
I had to cut that out.
Yeah, there's nothing like a fresh loaf of bread. And the smell of it baking, I don't know if Hemke would agree with me or not, but just from a guy's perspective, you smell that loaf of bread, you just want it. And
do you agree?
Oh,
Yeah.
We're going to have to get Hemke to come around to the camera and pop over and say hi before we end.
Yeah, we should.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when you go to Nashville and all that, I imagine you sit down, you do a lot of songwriting, and start working on your, recordings and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel it's in the air. The same way that, like, I guess when I was in New York, it just felt like theater is in the air in New York. You know, and the movies are in the air in Los Angeles. The music is totally like, you go to Nashville, and it's like the inspiration. It's almost like it's just falling out of the sky or something, or it's in the water. I don't know. I think when you get that many people who are all focusing on the same thing, it electrifies a place. You know.
You have to. I'm sure you have to admit there's a ton of people focusing on the same thing out there in Nashville. There's so many that are after that same goal. You know. Yeah. You just hope for the best.
But sometimes that goal is just to write a great song.
I'll answer the phone if you want me to.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. That was mine.
No, you're good.
Oh, you're all good, man. It's all good. So good.
If you heard what was going on the camera before Jess got on, you'd be hysterical because Skip and I get on a few minutes early before the artist does, and Skip is right in my kitchen as there's complete chaos going on every night. So trust me, this is nothing.
Well, yeah, this time of evening, I mean, that's when everything happens. Like, this is
Yeah, it's dinner time for you, right? You got the
almost
difference. Yeah, it's a little after 5 there, and we've got the quarter after 8 here. So,
gonna make some pizza.
oh,
When my kids were little, we used to call that crunch time. So we'd be running around trying to get dinner. The kids would need to get something done for school. Someone had to be at a sporting event, and in the midst of it, the phone would be ringing. And I'm like, it's crunch time. We can't talk right now.
It's crunch time. And do you have people? Would you have people that would always call during crunch time?
Always,
like
always,
that same person.
always. I'm like, why are you calling me? You know this is not it. A lot of times it's well, I won't say, but it's someone I'm like, you can't call me now. They may be watching. I don't want to get mad.
Somebody trying to sell you a car warranty, and it happens every night at about the same time, just from a different number.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. So when do you have time to work on your music with your family?
I think I've learned to kind of always be working on it. Like if I have to, sometimes we'll just be in the car, and if I have to turn down the music, they sort of understand that I'm working on something. I'll get that look, like I start mouthing words, and then it's, either I've lost my mind or I'm working on a song, either one, but yeah, I guess I'm always sort of working on it, but a lot of times I'll write a lot of it in my head and then sit down and make music to like sort of play to what I've heard in my mind and flesh it out that way.
Do you throw a lot of it by Hemke?
At some
what do you
point.
think about this and that? And does he give you some good advice?
Yeah, he's shaking his head. I don't know if he gives me advice. He doesn't give me. He does not offer any criticism or advice.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really true. That's a good question. I've never thought about
Yeah.
He just listens.
Well, that's good. A listener is good. My wife says I don't listen, so being a listener, that works out well. Hey, you just dropped an album a couple of months ago, correct?
Yeah, it's called Fortunes.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it really started with I did this duet. It's hold on, helicopter.
That's okay.
So it started with a duet that I recorded with the actor John Hawkes. That's track 6, called "You with the Sullen Eyes."
Oh wow!
And that was like the first. The album has an otherworldly feel, and that was the first kind of out there, ethereal sort of song that we recorded, and it was by itself. And after that, I kind of started piecing together songs around that song. The working relationship that I have with the guy who did the strings. It's one guy who did all those strings.
Oh,
and
wow.
all across the album. I mean,
That's
beautiful what he did. It's like, it really is an art piece. I feel like he's the star of the album. His name is Stevie Black. And he arranged and performed every stringed instrument on the album.
Is that the dog there?
I'm sorry. I'm gonna go move her. I'll be right back. This is quite the evening.
I'm all right. My pod zone. I'm just living my own life.
Y'all are making me think my chaos is contagious.
Oh, it's funny. I'll be right back.
It doesn't matter where you are, who you are. We're all real people, and we all have these things going on in our homes. And that's I gotta tell you, Jesse, when we do these podcasts, we do them almost every night, and we have all different levels of stars on, and a lot of new artists, a lot of well-established artists. But you know what? We're in their homes, they're in our homes, and it's real life. The dog goes running by. The dog might start barking. Somebody might ring the doorbell. A phone might ring. It goes to show you that whether it's you or whether it's me sitting here or anybody, we're real people inside, and
Yeah.
we live real lives. But but it's fun to talk to people like you to find out what's on the other side too. You being a singer and a songwriter, somebody that dropped an album a couple of months ago, which I love the sound of that album. I listened to it before we went on tonight. A lot of the cuts off that. It's phenomenal, and it's fun to hear the stories behind all that. So.
Yeah, we just did an article, or I did one of those track by track things with American Songwriter, and that was really fun to do. I'd never just sat down and wrote out the stories behind the songs before.
Yeah.
And I sent it going, man, I hope I didn't say too much. I'm like, well, here's my diary.
Yeah. Well, pretty much, right?
But yeah, but I've always loved hearing the stories behind the songs too. So I figured, well, might as well just be honest.
No, exactly right. And that makes for a great song too. It's all about real life. If it's real, it's, in our genre, in the country music format or the Americana format, a lot of that, it's about, it's real life. It's about what's going on within ourselves. So that's
Well,
cool.
yeah, and in this kind of music, there usually aren't like 40 people writing a song. They're not usually put together by committee, really. Maybe there's one or two, but it's not a huge team. So I think the songs are just more personal in Americana and in country too.
Yeah, we're learning a lot about Americana these days. We're
Yeah.
getting more familiar with it. I mean, at least for myself, Skip knows a lot more music than I do. But
a lot of country music, it seems like it's written with like two people in a room. And that's still, it's like you still have two hearts and two experiences, and it's still like an intimate experience,
And the songwriting nowadays, though, because of this quarantine, has kind of taken a little bit of a turn, because there's a lot of places we talk to a lot of these songwriters in Nashville, and they can't be together. So they'll do it over the web. They'll do it with a Zoom meeting. But all of them, I don't think anybody has told us different. Correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, that it's a whole different feeling. You don't have that vibe of sitting next to the person and seeing the body language, and you're watching it on a screen like we're looking at each other here. But when you write songs, it's a whole different vibe.
Well, when you're together with somebody in a room, there's emotion that's flowing, and you really only feel that true emotion when you're together. So when you're on the screen, you just may not feel it 100%, is I think what it comes down to. So there's some great songs I know that have been written both ways, but it's just amazing how things have resorted to be done in different ways.
Like how the in-person energy affects.
And talking about that in the quarantine, girl, have you been doing all right? I mean, really, you're in LA now, but still, it's just, have you had a chance to kind of perfect some of what you do and all that?
Yeah. Well, I've started on the next album. Cool. So I've done that. That's kind of how I've been eating and writing and
eating and writing,
hanging out with the
kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's only been one time that I freaked out a little bit. We were in the RV, and I saw that map of the places that we're not allowed to go.
Oh wow!
Remember they put out that map a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It was like, and Americans aren't allowed really anywhere like that. Not that I was planning on traveling. It's like I wasn't.
It's just to know that you can't, which was bothering you.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean I can't do this? Not that that's how I operate.
Right here with the today they added I think 10 more states to our travel advice.
I heard.
So it's like, I think there's 31 states now that if you go and visit, you have to, if you come back, you got to quarantine for 14 days.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's just, I believe that something should happen. Maybe somebody gets COVID or whatever, then they can trace it back. So if you're not honest about it, eventually somebody's gonna, they're gonna catch up with you. And now they're talking about fines and everything else. So it's just because people don't do what they're told to do. So
well, I imagine that'll be us when we drive. We're going to be driving back to Tennessee next week. So I wonder if they're going to be.
Well, Here's the thing. I don't know. New York is the only state, maybe because we're here, we hear it. It's like 20 times a day. But I don't know what other states are actually telling you that you have to quarantine or you're going to get fined. Right? Like New York is very strict.
Bless you.
And
it's dust.
yeah, that's okay. It's not COVID, right?
Corona.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
So you should. My son lives in Tennessee, so he's had to come to a wedding, and it's like you got to go through hoops just to get out of Tennessee, get somewhere to get to New York, so you turn around and go back again and not get fined. So you guys should be
driving. Is he driving or flying?
He will be flying. He's actually flying back into Cincinnati, and he's visiting his sister for a night, and then he's going to head back over to Nashville.
Does he feel like he has to wear a hazmat suit?
No, not yet. He gets tested regularly. They have a group that they've been hanging out with for the last 4 months, and so far, knock on wood, they've all been good.
Oh, that's good.
But unfortunately, though, Tennessee is kind of closing up again.
Yeah, and Tennessee and Nashville and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So
hot spots right now, but like you said earlier in the podcast, that is, stay within your own confines, your own home, your own motor home. Just keep to yourselves. You got write your music, and you got your family with you, and just enjoy that.
Everybody misses live music, but we don't need to be going. Just wait. If we could just wait, it'll make all of this go by so much quicker. More, we'll be out of it before we know it. If we can all just,
when we went to go on it, we were testing a microphone there and all that. Were you going to play something? Do you want to play something?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's entirely up to you, but we'd love to hear from Jessie Lynn Madera.
Yay! Great.
Yes. So this is Jessie Lynn Madera, singer-songwriter, and she's in LA, and of course we are in New York, and she's going to play us a little bit of what what she has to offer, which is some of the best.
Yeah, this is called Funny Man. It's from Fortunes, the album I just put out. He's been around the world, but he says he loves me. Sometimes I think he thinks he does. Sometimes I know it's true. He's a funny man, but pain he was here before. I'm gone today, won't hear a thing again for months on end. And he'll always be my friend. It's good to love, it's good to lose, even when it's both you choose. And it feels right to see him go and do the best thing that he knows to do. Some reason I can't help myself around him. Sometimes he wants to watch me break, sometimes he lets me burn. He's a funny one that way. He's got shark-eyed looks for blue blood veins, gone downhill for years this way. No need to pretend. I'll always be his friend. It's good to love, it's good to lose, even when it's both you choose. And it feels right to see him go and do the best thing that he knows to do. Sometimes I think he can't forgive the choices I've made. mind, but he can't accept a thing too easy to obtain. He's a funny man that way. He's a funny man that way.
Wow.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, that is very different for us because we haven't had anybody play with the piano.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everybody's
I
picking
would
up a guitar and doing it that way, but that was beautiful. Seriously, that just God.
Your voice is so smooth. It's like I felt like glass, like water when it looks like glass. Your voice just, it was very smooth. I don't know how to explain it.
Much.
That's excellent. Now you wrote that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Yep.
that was about a friend I had in high school.
Very cool. Very cool. And your Hollywood husband Hemke.
Yeah, Hollywood Hemke. That's your new name.
Hollywood Hemke. I love it. But you know, what a great, it sounds like you got a great thing going, a great family, and you've got some great music, and we're going to hear some more hopefully in just a minute or two. But hey, and also I read somewhere that you're like fascinated with badminton.
That's true.
Is it?
Yes. Wow. Yeah, that's true. We love to play badminton. In fact, we even have like glow in the dark birdies and everything.
I love
Oh, how fun.
Because it gets really hot, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
during the day, it's super hot. So we like to go out like
You
with
set up
the
the net.
lightning bolts and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. I read that somewhere, and it said something about you having just loving the game of badminton.
It's really, yeah, that's true. Where did I say that?
And
I don't know.
you can't hurt anybody with one of those birdies. You just have some fun. They're like you just kind of.
Yeah, it's a lot better than lawn darts. Remember lawn darts?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't tell anybody, but I still have them in the garage.
You do?
And I'm afraid to pull them out because somebody will
Oh,
tell me and I'll be arrested because I've got a weapon or something. But
They
no,
probably weigh like 10 pounds.
and even as a kid, we used to throw them at each other. Who would have thought?
Oh,
You know?
my God.
Yeah.
You see, it's like as kids, we used to all pile. We were talking about seatbelts earlier. We used to all pile in the back of a station wagon, and nobody even gave it a second thought. And we used to look out the back windows and went down the road. Just
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff.
So was that,
Oh, you remember like your parents, somebody in the front seat would take a turn and you just slide across the back seat. Whee! The driver would take the turn and you go.
Yes, oh my gosh, yeah. See, we all did the same kind of. We all kind of grew up the same, so it's kind of cool.
don't you wonder how we even survived?
Yes.
But we did.
What we did, that just blows my mind when I think of all the rules in place for today to keep us all safe, and what we did years ago, which I won't say how many. I don't know how we made it.
Survival of the
I mean,
fittest.
oh yeah, seriously. Was that your? Is that the first single to be released off that album by any chance, or was it?
We went with no. It's a different. The single is a different song, and I never play this song, but I just kind of thought I'd play it today for you.
Okay. No, I really like that one. I happened to have been listening to that before, so I was like, I couldn't remember which one was coming up. So
The ones that we've been pushing are The Door and Seven to Heaven. So I feel like I'm playing those a lot, and I love them. Sometimes it's just nice to get quiet.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's very relaxing.
Let me ask you about the instruments on the album. They're all the actual instruments, right? You don't do too much digital. We have that option nowadays, but you're doing the real thing, correct?
Yeah, and when we first started tracking, I actually tracked a lot of this in New York on the Lower East Side, and I really wanted to have a concert bass drum, and the engineer we was thinking about sampling one, or just getting one off the I'm not very technical. You know,
Either way.
you know what I mean? They have these libraries of sounds, and I'm like, no, man,
Mhm.
like, let's just bring in the real